he says what he's going to do, going to tackle immigration, and you need a businessman in Parliament, and he's a businessman. And what he's done with that money is to protect himself, and I hope people do vote for him.
Basically, I think it's a load of rubbish. I think what he's doing is silly. You know, I don't agree with it at all.
And do you think he's done a good job so far as MP?
What has he done? What has he done? I don't know what he's done, to be quite honest. He hasn't really done anything for Clacton.
And last election, did you back him yourself? Or?
Yeah, because it was just he wanted a change.
Crime Agency.
It is clear to me that the National Crime Agency have released details of my company bank statements, my individual bank transfers, as well as private conversations between me and my bank managers to The Guardian, which have been published. This involves multiple criminal offences.
If they're right, and I'm not saying they are, we don't know yet, but if they're right, this is one of the biggest crises in modern British history. Let me read you some of the details here. This is what Reform are saying. We'll start with them. They're saying, this is Richard Tice, the deputy leader, I believe the National Crime Agency has leaked confidential conversations between me and my bank managers, as well as multiple bank statements from different banks to The Guardian. Basically, he's saying the National Crime Agency have looked into my bank accounts for perhaps perfectly legitimate reasons and then very unlegitimately leaked those bank statements to The Guardian. Don't know what evidence they have for this, of course, but if it's true, and they clearly seem to have reason to believe it is true, that constitutes one of the most undemocratic actions in modern British history. And we should all be deeply frightened by the National Crime Agency behaving in that way, allegedly. If that is the case, again, Reform have to prove this stuff. It's really important that they prove it. You'll remember, obviously, when Farage resigned, he said that his computer had been hacked. So Farage has also said that he's been hacked. Again, it's not really clear what's actually happened. We need to see the evidence. We need to see hard evidence of this stuff happening. If that is the case, I have to say it's one of the biggest establishment stitch-ups in living memory. Now, while we don't know whether or not Farage, Tice, Reform were hacked by the National Crime Agency and supposedly had that information passed on to the press, what we do...
Quick favour before we dive in, if you are enjoying Britain Unpacked, hit subscribe and tap that bell. Over 90% of you watching right now have not yet, and it genuinely helps the channel grow. Costs nothing, takes a second. Right, back to the chaos.
Passed on to the press. What we do know is that Farage has resigned his seat. His seat in Clacton-on-Sea. Here's the moment his resignation was announced in the Commons.
I beg to move that Mr Speaker do issue his warrant to the Clerk of the Crown to make out a new writ for the electing of a member to serve in this present Parliament for the county constituency of Clacton in the room of Nigel Paul Farage, who since his election for the said county constituency has been appointed to the office of Steward and Bailiff of His Majesty's Manor of Northstead in the county of York.
No. The question is that I do issue my warrant to the Clerk of the Crown to make out a new writ for the electing of a member to serve in the present Parliament for the county constituency of Clacton in the room of Nigel Paul Farage, who since his election to the said county constituency has been appointed to the office of Steward and Bailiff.
I'm just going to pause it there. What a load of waffle. Anyone who says that our Parliament is antiquated, I mean, watch this video, they've probably got a point, right? I mean, all these titles and all this process, and just wonder why it still exists. Anyway, we'll carry on.
Of His Majesty's Manor of Northstead in the county of York. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Okay, so basically that was the formal process whereby Lee Anderson had to go into the House of Commons and announce Farage's intention to stand down. Bunch of process that no one understands, including myself later, and he's no longer an MP, right? He's standing again in the by-election. You heard there Labour were trying to heckle and be funny, but, you know, with their usual success. Right, go on to the next clip. This one has got Count Binface in it.
Well, now look, here's the thing. We know that the monster raving loony party are running as well. So do you think it's time for a loony bin pact?
Well, look, the fact is, if the loonies and Farage want to fight amongst themselves for the
no, I'm talking about you and the monster raving.
I know you are. I'm making a separate point.
Well, why don't you do a pact?
No, I don't need a pact with anybody. I'm quite happy, thank you.
Here, here. Well, hang on a minute, because...
Let's just pause that image for a moment there. Look at that BBC studio. What, 3-4 MPs, a man with a bin on his head, and the presenter. This is the programme that used to be presented by Jeremy Paxman. This is the show that used to be known for investigative journalism. Now they have a man with a bin on his head, in a cape, sat in the corner, next to their political editor and a couple of MPs. I mean, what a farce. I mean, they wonder why no one trusts them and why people question the licence fee.
Why don't we...
And indeed the SNP. I mean, it's very kind of you.
I mean, these are serious times.
Right.
Why don't you bin off the bin on Newsnight now? We know that your name is John, and we know really a lot about you. Isn't this time, for serious times, to bin off the bin?
Oh, here we go. I mean, has anyone here seen Return of the Jedi? Nobody wants to know what's underneath a recyclone. It's disgusting. It's absolutely putrefying. No, if you want to be serious with me, I'll tell you, you want to talk to Count Binface, and then you get me on Newsnight and you start trying to deconstruct a character. I would say, what are we doing here on a programme which used to construct proper investigative journalism and now is a souped-up podcast, Paddy?
Told you. Suppose me and Count Binface agree on something. If I had a vote in Clacton, maybe I'd put it his way. He's got BBC Newsnight bang to rights. The show that used to be presented by Jeremy Paxman, now they're interviewing a man with a bin on his head. Mad. He calls it a souped-up podcast. Look, I can say as a man who runs a souped-up podcast, it's not even that good.
Tell me about your manifesto. What can you offer the people of Clacton? Have you ever been there?
No, because I understand from the current incumbent that is part of how you do the job. So I deliberately stayed away. Is that how it works? But, if I get the 10 nominations, because, hey, look, there's no guarantee I'm standing for the election, as I'm sure you know. I'm game, but I have to get the signatures from 10 local inhabitants. Otherwise, this is a non-starter. And then, of course, I will tailor my manifesto to the local area as always. But most of my national policies will remain: building at least one affordable house, nationalising Adele, bring back CFAX, and of course, moving the hand dryer in the gents' toilet in the Crown and Treaty pub Uxbridge to a more sensible position, because as you know, it's a national issue.
We're going to go on to the next clip. This is some actual reporting, something the BBC refuses to do. They're interviewing a bin. Our reporter, Aaron Newbury, went down to Clacton to speak to real people, asked them how they feel about Farage's decision to call a by-election to stand down, what they think of the man, what they think of what he's done, whether they'll vote for him. These sort of really important questions. Let's see what they had to say.
What do you think about Nigel Farage? Do you think he's right to do that?
Yes, I do. To put himself right, what he's been saying. That man got us out of the common market when no one else bothered. And he's always said what he's going to do. And we've got to give him a chance. We give Labour a chance. We give the Tories a chance, and nobody listens to us.
This is how millions of people in this country feel, right? They see Farage, rightly or wrongly, whatever you think of him, right? I know some of you in the comments are probably more in favour of Restore. Maybe some of you vote for the Tories. I know a lot of you probably vote Reform. A lot of people see Farage as the guy who's listening to them, right? After decades of politicians not listening to them, whatever their party may have been, and they feel like he deserves a chance. And they feel, with what's going on at the minute, that there's an orchestrated campaign out there to stop him from doing that. Because he's speaking for millions of people, which has not been done before. I mean, these people, like this woman, they've been ignored by the Tories, Labour, the Lib Dems, in coalition with the Tories for the last 20 years. You know, these debates have been going on my entire lifetime about, is there too much migration? How can we control it? Is it racist to ask for it to be controlled? And for years, these people have been called racist or bigoted or small-minded or Little Englanders by the establishment. And look, a guy's come along and said, no, actually, you guys have got a point. Maybe you guys are right. Let's give it a try. And what's happened to him? Well, he's been, publicly defenestrated. He's been forced to resign his seat to fight a by-election to prove that the people are on his side. But this investigation that's currently ongoing into him will continue regardless after that. People feel like he's being hounded. They're frustrated. And you can see why they feel the way they do, right? I'm sure many of you do. Tell us in the comments how you feel about what's going on with
a government agency, a leaked bank statement, and a man in a bin lid running for Parliament. No, This is not a fever dream. This is British politics in 2026. And honestly, it is funnier than most sitcoms. So here is the headline. Reform UK claims the National Crime Agency leaked Nigel Farage's private banking details straight to The Guardian. We are talking bank statements, private chats with bank managers, the lot. Richard Tice stood up in the Commons and called it what it might be, a criminal act. If proven, this is not just embarrassing, it is a full-blown constitutional headache. But wait, there is more, because Farage did not simply resign his Clacton seat like a normal person. Oh no, he used a 500-year-old loophole called the Stewardship of the Manor of Northstead. Basically, British law says you cannot just quit as an MP, so you accept a made-up royal job instead. It is the political equivalent of calling in sick by pretending to become a knight. That resignation triggered a by-election in Clacton, and this is where things get properly bonkers, because standing against Farage is a man calling himself Count Binface. Bin on his head, cape on his back, manifesto promises include relocating a hand dryer in a pub. BBC Newsnight interviewed him with a straight face. Somewhere Jeremy Paxman is weeping into his tea. Here's the twist though. Farage only won Clacton with just over 46% last time, not a majority. So if enough annoyed voters decide anyone but Farage, even a man dressed as a satirical space warlord, could give him a genuinely uncomfortable night. Think Portillo 1997, but with more glitter. And the public split right down the middle. Some see Farage as the one politician who actually listens, especially on immigration. Others think this whole by-election is a stunt, a circus, a load of rubbish, to quote several unimpressed locals in Clacton. YouGov found 43% oppose the by-election entirely. Only 24% support it. So, what we have got is an alleged data leak, an ancient legal loophole, and a bin-headed satirist all colliding in one Essex seaside town. If this was fiction, no one would believe it. Yet here we are watching British democracy do its best impression of a pantomime, one where nobody's quite sure who the villain actually is. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.